March 27, 1977, two Boeing 747 jumbo jets sit on the fog-covered runway on the island of Tenerife in the Canary Islands. Each aircraft weighs over 300 tons, each carries hundreds of passengers, and in just few minutes both aircrafts will attempt to occupy the same runway. What follows becomes the deadliest disaster in the aviation history, the Tenerife airport disaster. But the shocking truth is, the disaster wasn't caused by a mechanical failure, it was caused by a chain of small mistakes that slowly built towards catastrophe. That afternoon, traffic was flowing normally at Gran Canaria Airport, the largest airport in the Canary Islands. Tourist flights from across Europe were arriving, but suddenly everything changed. A bomb exploded inside the terminal building planted by a separatist. The airport was immediately shut down. Aircraft already in the air had to divert somewhere else. The closest option was the small airport on nearby Tenerife, Los Rodeos Airport. Within minutes, aircraft from all over Europe began landing there. But Los Rodeos had a problem. It was tiny. It only had one runway and one main taxiway. And now it was filling up with the large international aircrafts that it was never designed to handle. Soon, the taxiway became completely blocked with parked airplanes. This forced arriving aircrafts to taxi directly on the runway itself, something that already made operationals complicated. But then two particular aircrafts arrived, a Boeing 747 operated by KLM and the Boeing 747 from Pan American World Airways. Both aircrafts were among the largest passenger plane in the world. The captain of KLM flight was Jacob Lewis. He wasn't just any pilot, he was KLM's chief flight instructor. His face even appeared in KLM training manual and advertisements. He had over 11,000 flight hours and was widely respected across the airlines, but he was also under pressure. Dutch aviation duty rules meant his crew could soon exceed their legal working hours. If that happened, the flight might have to stay overnight. So, when the airport finally reopened, the captain was eager to depart quickly. Before departure, the KLM's captain made an unusual choice. He decided to refuel at Tenerife. This added over 14 minutes to the delay. Meanwhile, the Pan America aircraft waited behind them, but this decision had another consequence. The KLM aircraft now became extremely heavy, filled with additional fuel. A heavier plane needed more runway distance to take off, and on a foggy runway with another plane nearby, that would matter a lot. Los Rodeos Airport sits over 2,000 feet above sea level, and weather there can change pretty quickly. Suddenly, a thick layer of Atlantic fog rolled across the runway. Visibility dropped dramatically. Pilot could barely see 100 meters ahead. Even worse, the airport had no ground radar. Air traffic controllers could not see aircraft positions. They had to rely entirely on radio communication, and soon those communications began to break down. Once refueling finished, the KLM aircraft began taxiing down the runway. Behind them, the Pan America 747 followed. The plan was simple. Both aircraft would taxi down the runway. Pan America's crew searched for it in the mist, and they missed the turn. They continued slowly down the runway, still looking for the next exit. At the end of the runway, the KLM aircraft turned around and lined up for the departure. Inside the cockpit, Captain Jacob Lewis pushed the throttle forward slightly. The engine began to roar, but the plane had not yet been cleared for takeoff. The tower control was still communicating with the Pan America aircraft. Then the KLM first officer radioed. KLM 4805 is now ready for takeoff and waiting for clearance. The control replied with instruction for their route after departure, but he never actually said the word clear for takeoff. Then the KLM captain responded with the phrase that would become infamous: "We are now at takeoff." At the exact moment, two radio transmissions overlapped. The Pan American crew tried to warn the tower they were still on the runway, but the signal created a loud burst of radio interference inside the KLM cockpit. That warning was never heard. The KLM captain pushed the throttle forward. Four massive engines screamed to full power. The 747 accelerated down the runway, speed 80 knots, then 100 knots. Inside the Pan American cockpit, the crew was still taxiing through the fog. Suddenly, through the mist, they saw two bright landing lights rushing towards them. The Pan American captain shouted, "There he is! Look at him! God damn, the son of a bitch!" The KLM crew saw the Pan American aircraft at the same moment. Captain Jacob Lewis pulled the control column back. The massive jet tried to lift up early. For the split second, it almost worked. The nose lifted. The aircraft left the ground, but the plane was too heavy. The landing gear smashed into the top of the Pan American jet. Engines tore through the fuselage. Fuel tanks ruptured instantly. The KLM aircraft crashed back into the runway and exploded into a massive fireball. The KLM aircraft was completely destroyed. Everyone on board was killed. The Pan American aircraft burned violently, but some passengers managed to escape through holes in the fuselage. In total, 583 people died. Only 61 passengers survived, all from the Pan American aircraft. It remains the deadliest disaster in the aviation history. The runway at Los Radios Airport is still in use today, but every pilot who trained for commercial aviation now learns the lesson of the day. A disaster caused not by one mistake, but by a chain of small misunderstandings, and in aviation, those chains can become deadly. Over and out. March